So this is one of the methods that I show in the extra mile course, actually. It's a very simple way of doing things. There's obviously, like in anything in ZBrush, multiple ways of doing the same thing. You can automate it. So like I have an auto remesh here. This is like a macro that we create in the course as well. But yeah, we don't, like in the scope of this workshop, we don't have time for that, but I'll just show you a very simple thing that is still very valuable and very easy to use. So I'm gonna take this. This is gonna be my sketch that I'm gonna turn into a nice topology to subdivide. So all I need to do is go to clone, and that creates another version. So that way I don't mess with the current one. And I'm gonna duplicate it. So in this new subtool, I'm gonna click on duplicate. Now, just for the you don't have to do this next step, but just for the purpose of visualizing what I'm doing, I'm gonna select the original sketch, and I'm gonna give it a red color. And I'm going to take the one that I'm going to turn into a nice topology, and I'm going to give it a green color. That's all. Again, you don't have to do this. It's purely a way of visualizing things. So now we have these two subtools that are living in the same space. I have solo off, right? And perspective doesn't matter, really. So I'm going to take this green one. I'm going to go into solo mode so that I don't see the red one at this point. And I'm going to remesh it. Now, I'm going to open up the remesh settings here. So if you're working on your stuff, maybe just pause that for a second so you can just really soak in this sort of process and remember these steps. Again, it's very simple, but it's good to keep an eye on it. So I'm gonna do a remesh just with the default settings, and you see that one is gonna give me already something that is pretty decent. The only thing to keep in mind is because we've been working on symmetry or with a symmetrical character, I'm going to make sure that I leave symmetry on so that ZRemesher respects that symmetry. And I'm going to turn on polyframe so that you can see it, turn on a different material. You don't have to turn polyframe or change material. This is just for you to visualize what I'm doing. And I'm going to click on ZRemesher. And these are the default settings. I haven't changed anything on the ZRemesher. By default, you should have 5 here in the target polygon count, and you have the adapt on. So the adapt on is going to adapt to the topology so that whenever it needs more polygons or smaller polygons to describe some details, it will use that. Like, for example, in this case, around the wattle part and all of that, it created those, smaller polygons compared to, let's say, the horn. So that is perfect. And this is 5, meaning that this number is in the thousands, so it's 5,000 polygons, the target, roughly, right? It will vary and it will change, but it is roughly what the idea is, just to get 5,000 polygons. In this case, it gives me 17 points. But yeah, that's all good. And yeah, this is how simple things you can change that. You can go for like more polygons or less. If it doesn't give you the result that you look for, you can change the adaptive size a little bit. So this adaptive size or slider, what it tells ZBrush is that when you have this enabled, to adapt more to the smaller details or less. So 50% is a very good range, but if I were to set it to 100, ZBrush is going to really make a lot of tiny polygons here, but really large ones in areas like these that are flatter. And that, might be useful in some cases, but again, in the context of creating a concept art, the idea is to maintain all the polygons sort of proportional and within the same sort of range of size. So these settings are perfect. I wouldn't use, and if what I'm getting is something that looks nice and describes nicely the shapes, there are some areas that could be fixed, like this sort of thing right here. This is a little bit weird, right? So I can smooth this out. So that's a little bit weird, but this is an easy fix. But the rest is pretty good. I think like even the eyes, they have like almost like a nice loop in there. So I wouldn't worry about, trying to get anything better than this, because I think the default settings are pretty good. Just gonna check these areas here. Yeah, this is fine. So yeah, that's it. So default settings, just ZRemesher. If you're having trouble, like if you're not getting what you want with this default settings, what I would recommend is to increase the polygon count, do the ZRemesher, and then that should give you more points, or that should give more points to the ZRemesher to recreate what you want. And then if that if that looks better with more polygons, all you have to do is click on half, and that way you sort of have the amount of polygons that you remesh until you have something that is lower resolution, but it's still better. So in other words, sometimes it's easier to increase this polygon count just so that you get a quad topology instead of the Dynamesh that we had, or the Sculptris Pro with triangulation. And then based on that high-res retopology, you can keep reducing it and improve it. That's it. Okay, so let's add color again so that we know what we're talking about. So this is the low-res mesh. I'm going to get out of solo mode. So you see the low-res mesh is sitting nicely within the same area of the high-res sketch, which is the red one. So with the green one selected, which is the nice clean topology. In fact, let's turn on polyframe and turn off fill so that we can see the wireframe. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on project all, and project all would be here for you guys. So I'm going to click project all, and ZBrush is going to look at my sketch. Let's undo that because I also projected the color. So make sure that you have color off. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, this is just to visualize it, but so that you can see. I'm going to turn off color because you can also project color. So maybe this is a nice extra thing. If you're doing your sketch and you decide to use Polypaint as a tool to help you visualize certain things, you can still do that, and you can project that into your sketch, into your nicely retopologized version. But yeah, so in this case, I'm going to turn it off, project, and you see there's not much changes. And that is basically because we don't have enough topology. So I'm going to click on divide, and then I'm going to project again, divide, project again. And this is a process, that the more subdivisions you add, the more time it's going to take. So I'm going to do another subdivision. Now I have 1 million polygons. I'm going to project again. And the goal here is going to try to make this visual that I have here, like the red and the green, to be very noisy so that there's almost no gap between the green and the red. So you see how it's becoming more noisy, the intersection of colors. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to do, I don't think I need to do one more. Let's get into solo mode, turn off polyframe. Yeah, so I think this one already captures all the details that I want. This is still some triangulation, but that's just due to the sketchiness of what we had before. So we'll have to do a bit of a cleanup in there.